So you can see today the mini workshop is Reactive Form Demistified, and I think before we even begin to introduce ourselves and everything, it'll probably be good if we set the expectation of how we want the next 2 hours to go. So it's going to be a mix. We're going to have a little bit of a talk to give you some background about some of the stuff. Both of us are just going to talk around, but it's also going to be very hands-on. So we're going to have some actual code that we're going to show you, sort of introduce you to. But it's hands-on in the case where we've decided that we'll also give you mini tasks where we actually get to work around and actually help you. And we even have ways where if you eventually solve a problem, we can actually I have a link and we can share your screen on there, and then you can show it and just educate people on how you arrived at specific stuff. The same way, if you also have a mini problem on anything we've talked about, you can put it up on the screen, and we also pair program together and solve it together. So is that okay with everybody? All right? Okay. So thank you very much. I think we're going to start off with ourselves, Sani and Katerina. So Katerina, take it away.
Yeah. I'm a Google developer expert for Angular and web technologies. I work for this Labs. I'm a software engineer, and I work mostly on Angular projects. I also run the Angular Athens community in Athens. I'm from Greece, so I'm based there. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. And you can make sure to follow Katerina. She tweets a lot. She's always on the move, by the way. Yeah. All right. And all right, a little bit about myself. I can already see some, I'm not going to spend time because I can see some faces from my last talk, which was in this room. But yeah, similar to Katerina, I'm also a Google developer expert on Angular. I'm actually Nigerian originally, but I live in London now, in the UK. And I'm a big Avatar fan. For me, if we're going to get along, that's a must. That's a deal breaker for me. And you can follow me as well online. The same thing, Sani, Yusuf everywhere, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit about Katerina and myself. And Katerina, so this workshop was actually Katerina's idea, and we've always wanted to do something together because it's crazy. We get to hang around a lot. You know, it's like we're almost like family. We get to hang around in a lot of these conferences, and so for the first
my conference buddy.
So for the first time, we were why? She was just why don't we actually do something together? And we were I like the idea. We had a bunch of ideas, but I think we settled in this idea. So Katerina came up with a lot of ideas, so we submitted this. So we were really excited that we both got accepted to come and to give this. So yeah, that's pretty this is so, if we freak out a little bit, this is new to us. We've known each other for a while, but this is the first time we're actually doing something together, right?
So be lenient, okay?
Yes. So this is the part of the talk where we're going to talk a little bit about the background and about forms, and where we talk and before we get into the code. So let's talk a little bit about forms. Everyone here is here for the Reactive Forms talk. What's the split in the room? Do we have advanced Reactive Forms people? I use Reactive Forms every day, or hey, I haven't really used it, or I've started, but I'm not sure what I'm doing. So hands up if you've never used Reactive Forms. Okay, that's a good amount of people. Hands up if you work with forms, right, but you're not using Reactive Forms currently. Okay, hands up if you use Reactive Forms every day, but you're not quite sure if, it's am I doing it right, or that kind of thing. And if you're outright Jedi mode, hands up. Oh, that's it. Come on. Okay. Well, that means we're all here together, because good. So the thing with forms is forms are really, we use them in day to day in our lives, and this is something Katerina and I always talk about, just even yesterday while we sat down and we were going through the slides, you use them every day. If you think you have not used a form today, let me see your hands out.
Everyone is aware.
Yeah. So you literally use them every day. But the thing with forms is when they don't work, that's when you remember that they are forms. But when they do work, it's just an extension of your own human ability. So if you think about your car, and when you go into your car and you type in the GPS, that's actually a form. But you never really think about it because it works. technically, you could argue that even when you get into the elevator and you're clicking those buttons, that's actually a form because you're giving feedback. So let's see some forms that you use. So everybody knows this one, right? Twitter, right? And if you've been on my Twitter for the last week, you probably, I think there might be some people that know what has gone on, but yeah, but we all know Twitter, right? So this box here is really what it's all about. If there isn't this box, the entire business goes to waste. There's no Twitter, right? So this is essential for Twitter. If you take away the form, there's no business. There's no billion-dollar business. Katerina, you love this one, right?
Yeah.
This is for you.
It's the Google search form, obviously. So again, this is a single point of input that you get when you get on Google. If that form doesn't work, then you have a problem.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think this is the most expensive form in the world.
Exactly.
It's a $600 billion form.
And it's probably the first form we ever saw. I don't know.
Yeah, like the one we got used to. But it's like, we've even created a noun after it, like Google this, Google me, Google that. Like, it's a form, right? Isn't that crazy? But because it works, we just look at it as an extension of our ability. Like, I Googled it. But what does it actually mean to Google? I fed it information and it gave me information back. And if Google is probably the one form that probably has a really good experience. You get what you want. You go there and you see it, right? So this one. I think everybody has used this one, right? But it's actually a form. And this is the one that we forget that it's not a form. What do you guys think you all think, sorry, apologies for using the wrong word. What do you all think we are putting there? Anybody think, have an idea of what we're trying to display there? The URL bar, yes. That's a form. You use it all the time. Well, you don't really realize because it just works. You put in, you go in incognito, you put in the website you want to, and, and it works, right? Yeah. And this is the one I actually don't have you, Katerina, right? We need to fix that.
Yeah.
Are we on there yet? Are we connected on there yet?
I don't know.
We'll fix it.
Yeah,
But yeah, Facebook, right? If you want to spy on people, do crazy things, swing elections, and it all starts with a form. So you can see how powerful forms can be then, right?
Too many options.
Yes. And even the colors and everything, those are really, they're farm options as well, because they're just buttons and all of that.
Exactly.
Right?
Buttons pops up another form to choose a color or an emoji or something.
Absolutely. So that's great. So I think this is one thing we need to talk about, which is they have the ability to make or break your business, right? Imagine if Google search was not quick, right? Imagine if it wasn't quick. Imagine you had to wait 2 seconds for the Google search to show up. Would you be using Google? DuckDuckGo would have a great day, right? Well, Bing will finally be relevant. The funny thing about Bing? They make a profit.
Really?
Yes. But guess what the most search word on Bing is? Say that again? Yes, it's Google. Google is one of the top 3 search words, and also I think it's download Chrome.
Yeah.
which is crazy, because most people that know what they do, which is go on a Microsoft machine, the first thing you do is what? You download Chrome. But they turn in a profit. They've been turning a profit since, I think, 2012. $5 billion, to be specific. So they turn a profit, the amount of profit they turn is almost like what some companies are worth. And I was shocked to find that out because, my grandma and my granddad don't know about Google. They just want to search. To them, they're actually using Google, but that's it. They don't change that. And then the Apple iPhone as well, because it used to be the default search engine until Google decided to send Apple I think a $10 million check every year to just make Google the default one. Yeah. But yeah, they do have the ability to make or break your business. Why do you think nobody likes doing their taxes? If you like doing your taxes, let me see your hands up. Good. We don't have any serial killers in the room.
Yeah.
Perfect. Right? Well, why do you think nobody likes doing taxes? Because it sucks. Yeah. Right? It really does suck. That's the thing. So I think one way we would start is we would start by seeing some really, really terrible forms. Like absolutely terrible forms, right? And every picture we show, there's a StackBlitz link. So when we do share it, Katerina's going to tweet the slides at the end, and so you can follow her there, and then it has the link to all the StackBlitz, so you have the material available to you, right? So this is the first one. Do you know what this is signifying? What is it? Anybody? This is interactive. Exactly. Those websites where you just land, you haven't done anything, but they're already telling you you're doing something wrong. Like it's a bit freaky because like I want to give you my information. You do realize that, right? But you're telling me I'm doing something wrong. So the validation is already starting way before the users interacted with the form. And believe it or not, this is very, very common. This is really, really common. So you can see like it, and one thing with forms actually, because there's a lot of red going around, and we normally use forms to like, a lot of times when we use forms, it relates to like with transactions, with money and all of that. So we take it personal as human beings. So have you ever had this thing where you want to buy something online and you go to the website, but it's not mobile optimized?
Yeah.
And that's at the point you just like, you either wait till you go home, or if there's an alternative, you just use it. Because why would I spend my money and have a bad experience? I'm trying to give you my money. I should have a good experience, right?
And it's scary. It shows lack of work and lack of effort.
I agree. So this is the first one. Let me make my damn mistake first. Like, at least give me the opportunity to try to give you my information, which you want, before you tell me I'm doing something wrong, right? Okay, so let's see the second one. This is one that, who can spot what is wrong here, potentially? Exactly. The submit button is enabled, which means the user can actually, like, you're not helping the user fill this form, because you're telling them everything is okay, when it's not, right? So it's very important that you're clear about the information that you want. There are some exceptions, of course, when you have like a call to action, that you cannot disable a call to action because it's how you get users, stuff like that. So you do a different type of validation, but yeah, for most forms like this. What about this one? Who can guess? Who can guess what's wrong here? Okay, this is a...
Exactly.
Yeah, perfect, yes. So here, I'm filling my last name first, but it's already telling me that, I haven't entered my email. I'm like, yeah, I know, I only have 2 hands, right? Like, there's only much I can do. There's only one cursor on the screen. So give me time, to like focus on what I'm doing wrong, It's okay. It doesn't matter if I give you my last name first than my username first. You want my information, right? So help me fill the form, right? And it's important to when a user has actually interacted with a field so that you would know which field it is, because that's the only way you can, okay, this is where they are, right? Okay. Yeah, so the only time there can be an exception to this is if order. And can anybody think of any use case where you need to, you need a user to fill specific order? Can you think of anything, Katerina? Any, when order? I can't think of any at the top of my head.
Go ahead.
If you're trying to populate cities, drop down from a state.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe you're ordering something, and you want a bunch of information, but maybe it's better if you tell me where you live so that I can actually see if I actually deliver to you before we go on, because what would really be like I would be angry if you collect all my information and right at the end I'm like, oh, by the way, we don't actually deliver to you. Sorry. Maybe that's something you should have done first, right? So that's when it can be an exception to the rule, right? This one. This one. Does anybody know this one? What is this one? Exactly. Too much information. They want to know your dog's details, your personal details, your cat's details. It's like, one at a time. It's like, because what this does, it freaks people out. It doesn't build trust. It's like, wow, why do you need to know about my dog or my cat? It's like, it's a long list of information. And this is how taxes feel.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. That's the worst about it.
Yeah, but I heard in Estonia, it's actually one of the countries in the world where it's so easy to do taxes.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
They even have like this e-residency thing where you can become like a virtual citizen of the country. Because like a lot of people live in the country, they have a lot of smart people, but there's just not enough industry. So a lot of people are leaving. So you can set up a business in like this, and you get a card. And even if like someone in like the government wants to access your information, you get to approve whether they can access that information or not. So if the police need to do a background check on you, you'd have to say yes or no.
I'm moving there.
Yeah, it's a bit too cold for me. Yeah. This one, and then this happens. Classic, right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe you should have just checked if the username was available first before letting me actually submit. But the worst part is, when it does come back, all that information that I filled is gone.
And imagine if it was a long form as well.
Yeah. Oh, I always give up.
Yeah.
That is the
Me
point
too.
where I'm just like, yeah, you're not getting my money today. Nope. Yeah, I'm not gonna do this. I think this once happened to me with, when online grocery shopping was very new, and I spent hours, tomatoes, everything and all of that. And then it turned out that the date I wanted the groceries delivered was not available. And then I had to do the whole thing just went south because I was checking out as a guest. Uber. I actually just went to the grocery store. Literally, I was just like, yep, this online thing is not for me. We just went to the grocery store because it's like, I spent all that time. I literally got angry. Picked up my bag and yeah, we're going to the grocery store in person. You okay? So I guess what we're here, Katerina and I, is to say, the question is, how can we then create better forms in Angular? How can you actually do that, right? That's the whole point, okay? So this is why we talk about reactive forms, right? I know, Katerina, you like maps a lot.
Yeah.
You are, if you want to know anything about maps, Katerina is like a map genius. She's got longitude and latitude. She can probably tell you the longitude and latitude right now. You probably have internal GPS. But I know you really, really love forms as well because this was, I remember when you pitched the idea and I was like, are you sure? Should we not do this? Should we not do that? But here we are. So, she's the genius behind it. So these are some of the features, that forms allow you to do. And I think the one I really like is the observation part where you're able to observe what the user is doing, where reactive forms allow you to do.
And all the different states that a form field has.
Yes.
Like you said before, to know if a user has touched a field in order to show or not an error, and if it's valid. Absolutely,
I agree. And what that does is actually, I think it makes the experience very empathetic.
Yeah.
Right? Because it feels like you care. It feels like you actually care. Can anybody think of anything they use that maybe has really, really good form experience that is very empathetic? Can you think of any? Stripe? Actually, yeah, Stripe is not bad. Yeah, Stripe is not bad. I think Auth0 as well. If you use Auth0 for authentication, the overall experience is pretty good. Yeah. Is really, really nice. Anyone? Hey, this is a form I really like using. Okay. I think composability as well is another thing because we all have these crazy use cases. We need to create a form that does X, Y, Z, that can go to the moon, that is green, that is vegan, that, like a lot of things, that allows us to, that composability. I think the fact that if you have this very, very interesting case, you can do that. One thing I learned teaching one time a class, that there are actually 3 states of a checkbox. Because we always assume there's 2, right?
Yeah.
Check or uncheck, but there's actually a 3rd state. I don't know if it's check or radio, interdeterminate state. Yes. Basically not checked or checked. Which is interesting. Apparently there was one guy that his company really needed that, because when you check, something happens, so there's this middle state. But it's actually part of the W3C standard. I believe it's either a checkbox or a radio, but it has actually 3 states. So, composability. And I think extendability, which just relates to composability as well. You can extend multiple features and do a lot of stuff, right? Yeah, okay. Any questions so far, by the way, guys? It's very open. All right, keep saying that word. People, it's very open, so please. Any questions so far?
All crystal clear.
Good.
Let's ask you some questions.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Just a joke.
That would be good. What is the square root of x? That one question. Has anybody still found x? Because last time I had a nephew and I saw their homework and they're still looking for x. I'm like, I've been looking for this since I was your age. We never found it. All right, so let's talk about the building blocks. Right? So, this is basically the building blocks of reactive forms, right? At the core of it, everything is an abstract control, right? That's like the core of it. So everything is an abstract control. And then you have 3 members, right? Form control, form group, and form array. Which one's your favorite? Which one do you like using?
I like form group.
Yeah.
Because it makes things tidy and you can group things and cross-validate and cross-check.
Yeah.
I think it's the best feature.
Yeah, I agree with you. I did have this thing where, I don't know, I might say actually, I think form group is the best feature and I like it, but in close second, I would actually say is the abstract control itself.
Oh, yeah.
Which is interesting because you can't really, it's just an abstract like the base. But because sometimes you have these complex forms and you cannot be sure without extending that, I want it to only be form groups or form arrays or form controls. So when you use abstract control, it's just like, it's a lazy way of just saying, everything. So everything is an abstract control. So there's a lot of stuff in the abstract control level, and then the form control inherits from that and extends its own stuff. The form group does the same, and the form array does the same. And we're going to talk about each and every one of them independently, right? So, like I said, if there's any question at any point in time, please feel free to hit us up. This is all going to be interactive. I see a lot of you with your laptops, so that's pretty good because we're going to have a lot of interactive sessions. We're going to be going around and making sure everyone is pretty good. Like, it's free training, you're not going to get anywhere, trust me. Yeah. So, of course, to start working with reactive forms, what do?
You import the module.
That's the thing. That's the most important thing. Do you still remember when, because now with the CLI, when you create a component, it automatically declares a component in the module for you. But do you remember the time when that wasn't a thing and you spent hours while your code wasn't working because you forgot to declare?
It's not added there.
Yeah, we've come a long way with the CLI.
Yeah.
I mean, if you worked with Angular JS, there was no CLI, right? Yeah. I actually never webpacked my Angular JS project.
Me neither.
Yeah, because I was just like, I had so much PTSD from just working with the damn thing that I just used to send it to production like that.
Fortunately, that was too many years ago.
Yeah. We're better now. We're good.
Yeah.
Thanks to Sean Larkin. All right. So Reactive Forms module. You come from the Angular /forms package. So you import that, right? So let's talk about the form control first, right? So this is what the form control tends to look like, when you need a one individual control, like a simple individual input or text box or something like that doesn't necessarily relate to another thing, this is where you use the form control. So if you were building like Google, the search box, that will be one form control, right? Because you just want to be there. And you can see there's a directive property there called form control that you can bind to, which is made available by the Reactive Forms module, and then you can provide the instance of your form control. Then you can just instantiate that, right? you know okay, we'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Yeah, so it works via the form control property, right? You just, bind to that property and you have it all good. Okay? And yeah, so we have the Katerina's favorite.
The form group.
Okay. Do you want to do the honors for this one? Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it's just mainly with the form element.
Okay, I'll go ahead.
Yeah, come on.
So yeah, it works
Give us
mainly
some.
with the HTML form element, and it's used to aggregate and group controls. So if you want to group two fields, for example, to validate them together, or you want to make your form more tidy up and like in groups that have the same theme, for example, or the same subject, it's good to use it. And it also provides an object-based API for accessing group controls.
Yeah. What would you say for you is your favorite thing about like form group? Like why form group all the time?
I don't know, I think it also helps me to debug.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Yeah, because it sort of breaks down the form in sort of smaller blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a mistake, you can find it easier. I think that's the main thing for me.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. And this is what a typical form group would look like, right? You'd have, so I think one of the things I like, and this is very controversial, but the fact that, you just put the form, like as soon as you associate the form with the form group, then everything else in between, you just use form control name to associate them, right? So on the right-hand side, you can see the actual code, and left-hand side, you can see how they associate. So you put a name, first name, and then you associate it with anything called first name. So now you have like a one-to-one mapping for all of them, if that makes sense, right? Clear so far? Any questions? Okay. You can ask those questions, guys. We don't bite. Maybe for me, just a little bit, but.
Are you not paying attention?
Yes?
This is what my teacher used to say.
Are you guys also going to talk about the nested components? If I have a custom component, I'm going to use the form group, because this works fine when it's like you're using input properties, but when you create a custom component, like a user lookup or a drop-down or something like that, which is not part of this, which is still part of this form, but not part of this component, how would you make it? Because so this is just the starting, but you would eventually put the validators in the form controls, right, and everything. But when you have a custom component, which will have its own validators, you make it.
Oh, okay. So I think we will talk about that a little bit. We wouldn't practically, because it gets beyond the scope of this. That's where you need something called the control value accessor property to make the connections, because now you're creating like you're extending the forms itself, right? And so there are a lot of ways. And actually there are some, Bram? Bram has this formally, I think it's called, which actually makes that process way easier, so you don't have to do that groundwork. So we talk about that at the end, but it's a framework that someone created where you just literally give it the configuration and the component, and it automatically does all of that for you. Yeah. All right. I wish Susan was here. She likes that. She had an entire talk of like literally all the troubles she went through with the whole custom stuff. Yeah, it used to not be easy. All right, so we're going to talk about form array next, right? So form array is like the middle child, the forgotten one, like for the most part. Don't worry, I'm a middle child too, so you'll be fine. Don't worry. But it's just like the form group, but it just gives you an array-like syntax. And sometimes you need an array-like syntax, especially if you're working with like numbered stuff. It really, really does make sense. Paged stuff. I still find myself using form group, even if I have like an array, for some reason, I don't know why. Yeah. Do you use form array a lot?
No, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's very similar, but it's just an array-like syntax. But a lot of times, I'll be very honest with you, it has a specific use case, but I don't know if it's a code smell, but I think we tend to just use form group a lot more, because I think people just like the object-like syntax a lot.
Maybe someone will use it today and show us.
Yeah, it's one of our challenge activities actually. So hopefully, yeah, and I'm giving a Tesla for that. I just said Tesla, so it might just be a picture of a Tesla. You never know. Yeah, might not be the car itself. Yeah. All right. So every example we've shown has always been like declarative, imperative, instantiated equals, but there's also like a declarative way of doing these things. Oh, we've actually got the wrong, my bad.
It's okay.
We'll show it. But there's a more imperative way with the form builder, where you can actually, you know what I found out recently? The form builder actually has a function called, you know how it has the .group?
Yeah.
It has .array, but it also has .control. So you can actually create a form control with the form builder, which is weird.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So demo time. Yeah, I totally got my ass kicked. Don't worry. Totally.
It's from NG Vikings, right?
Yeah. Like, look at my defense. Look at his defense. You could tell I've never held a shield before. We should see you, Katerina. You're Greek, so you probably have like, Spartan,
Yeah, okay. I'm half Spartan, so
Yeah.
don't mess with me.
Katerina is badass. Trust me. Like, don't go run a 5K with her. I've tried. It didn't end up well. It did not end up well. So we're going to talk about value changes, how you can actually monitor change of values. We'll talk about the built-in validation stuff. We'll talk about like how you can actually compose a lot of complex forms. And also we can talk about custom validation, so how you can create your own custom validation, right? And then we're going to also talk about async validation, custom async validation, which is asynchronous, right? Okay. So, are we ready? Are we ready?
Laptops ready?
Are we ready? Yeah. Are we? Doesn't seem like we're ready. Katerina, let's go for lunch. They're not ready.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So the way this session is going to be going along is we would, so Katerina and I are just going to be pair programming. We'll show you we'll start with the form control. So we actually show you elements and things about that with documentations and stuff. So welcome to the questions. And then we'll show you a demo that we've built on the side. What we do with that demo is then we challenge you to create that demo, right? And then we give you some time. And we go around, we see what people are doing. Then at the end, we show you our solution for that particular demo, so that you can see if you could add up. So a lot of you are actually gonna do way better than us. And the demo you don't have to use Bootstrap or anything, just literally it's all about functionality. So it's a case of we show a little bit, we basically we show you the actual functionality, and we welcome you to also, you don't have to sit on your seat. It's a great time to actually meet the next person. Hey, hi, my name is Sani. I'm not a very nice person. That kind of thing. Like, just meet people and talk to them. And so it's not a thing where we're judging individuals, but you can come together on one person's machine to see what people are doing. And in the end, we even welcome you. We have a link, haven't appeared at IN Room, which you can actually share. Then we share the screen all live on stage, which is pretty good. So you can be part of the conference and you can show this is what we do. So feel free to group. Feel free to do individual stuff, and we're always also going to be walking around, so you can get our attention to say, hey, Katerina, help me with this, or Sani, help me with that. I probably don't know a lot of it, right? So please
You're
call
the
Katerina.
expert.
Nope. I just know how to talk.
Yeah, so I'll be walking around. You can give a shout out. I'll come see what you're stuck at.
Okay, how's that for a plan? Cool stuff? Okay, let's just be
Good.
mindful of time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have around...
We've spent 40 minutes.
Oh, good. We're right bang on time. Okay. See? African Prince. He's been sending you his emails all your life. You never knew he was real, did you? So next time, send me your money. All right. Let's do this. Wait, hold on. I think I have a mirror display here. So I can end the show. I think I've mirrored the display. By the way, if you see anything interesting on my screen or like my browser history, I apologize in advance, right? Right, yes. I really do apologize in advance. Is this pretty good? Pretty good? Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to Stackblitz. Stackblitz.com. And we welcome you to use Stackblitz. Why? Because it's very easy to share and all of that, right? Oh, it's changed. Oh yeah, they did launch an update. So I'm just gonna go ahead and create like a new, what's it called, project. So at this point in time, you don't actually have to follow because this is more the, it's not mandatory you follow, right? But you feel free to go. It's just more, we're gonna show you one or two things. So we'll start off with the form control and really show you some stuff. And then from there on, we go on, right? Okay, so let's just create a brand new Angular project. I'm just gonna make this a bit larger. Or is it okay if we change the resolution as well? Okay. Okay, let me give it a go. Display. Let's see if we can change the resolution so that it's good for them and for us. I think I'm supposed to go scaled, and then I go down to 720p, which would make everything huge and good for us. How's that? Much better? Everybody okay with that? Right? Can anybody not see, especially for the people in the back? Yeah. Especially for the people in the back?
You cannot see?
Okay. We all have to go we're not leaving anybody behind.
Yeah.
So if one person cannot see, I'm happy to make it bigger, right? Okay, so let's just open this in a new window, right? So the first thing, who can tell me what's the first thing we would do when we want to work with reactive forms? Exactly, great.
Correct.
We import the module. Someone wants to win my Tesla. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're gonna go to here and just say reactive forms mod. Oh, there's autocomplete now on Stacklet?
It's getting better and better.
Yeah. I'm just so used to WebStorm because
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. You WebStormer?
Mostly Visual
VS Code?
Studio. Yeah.
Oh, I used to like it, but I don't know.
Sometimes the linter gets on my nerves in WebStorm.
The what?
The linter, the ESLint.
Oh yeah, that is annoying.
Yeah.
There's like no simple way to turn it off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we do that, and then the next thing we will make sure that we import it. So Reactive Forms module, right? Now we're good to go, right? So we're gonna go to the HTML, and the first thing we would do is let's just add like a simple, let's do like a H1 tag and be like, Yasu.
It's the Greek way of saying hi.
Yeah.
Any Greeks here? No. Okay.
Oh, there's one.
Really? Where?
It's half Greek. 50%. It
Okay.
counts.
You know Yasu. Okay.
So he doesn't know hello.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Does that mean I'm more Greek than he is?
Yeah.
Oh,
Definitely.
look at me. The African Greek. All right. So we're going to just have like a standard input here. And let's give it a type. And we'll probably say maybe type text. Just,
Yep.
I think that's the default anyway, right? And let's go to the preview. So we have this, right? Standard stuff, right? Pretty okay. The world's most beautiful application. If I lived in San Francisco, I could pretty much raise a Series A with this. Trust me. All right. By the way, is it visible? Everybody, can anybody see all bigger?
Let's make it a bit bigger. No?
A little bit bigger? Better? Or even bigger? Like that? Okay?
Okay.
Should be fine. Oh, no, don't save, Sani. Okay, so now we want to work with a simple form control, right? Let's just pretend we were building Google or something like that, right? And the first thing we would do is we will go to this hello components, and then we will actually create a property that will be the form control, right? So here, I will just, I think we can just...
Yeah, we don't need that.
Yeah, we don't need that. So I'm just gonna call it, let's say, my form control. I'm tempted to use foo and bar, but yeah. And I'm just gonna make it of type form control, right?
Who finds it?
Yeah. See why I like WebStorm? And so now I have to like go and import this with
Strange.
yeah, from Angular /forms, correct?
Yep.
That's it. And
There it is.
There it is. So, so we create the property here, right? And I think we just do a constructor. And inside of the constructor, we can just instantiate this particular form. What's it called? So it would be like this dot my form control equals new form control, right? So this is the and so now the next question is what entails, like, what does a form control entails? How can we, customize it? What kind of properties can we give the form control, right? So let's actually go to the documentation, and we try and make this as honest as possible because this is the same way you would, try and go. So let's actually go to the Angular.io. Again, I apologize for any autocomplete, yeah.
Do you want me to type?
No, it's all good. So we can go to, let's say, let's start with the abstract first?
Yeah, okay.
To have a look at the abstract?
Yeah, abstract control.
Yeah. Yeah, abstract control, right? So the one great thing is, I like with the Angular.io website, it's almost self-documented.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the examples they gave as well, right? Okay, so let's look at the base class. You remember what I talked about? Everything in the form, it's an abstract control, right? So let's look at that abstract control. So if you look at the abstract control, you can see a bunch of things there. Status, invalid, valid, and we're going to talk about those. But let's actually go to the, open another one and say Angular.io, and then, the wrong conference. Angular.io, and then we'll look at the form control itself, right? So, if we look at that. So, now let's have a look at the constructor there. So the constructor says you can pass in the first parameter that you pass is the initial state, right? Of the form, which means what's the initial value? Because every input element has a what? A value property, right? And that's what, if it's a text box, it's the value. So that initial thing, the first parameter, is the initial value. Then we can go on to validators, which we're going to talk about shortly, and then even async validators. So the first thing we would probably do is just, at this point in time, just set it as empty, right? That's the initial value, right? Okay? So now we've actually created and instantiated our basic form control. So now we need to link the two. We have the template and we have that. So the way we do that is, if we go to the HTML, we would use, what's the name of the property again?
Form control.
Yes, but we have to bind to it because we're providing
of course.
Exactly. Form.
Put it in a box.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Put it in a box.
Yeah, because it's the banana in a box.
Oh yeah, the banana in a box. Yeah, remember that. I don't know who came up with that, the banana in a box. Does anybody know what the banana in a box means? Yeah, that's like when you do this, I think. That's when you use the old forms, isn't it?
Yeah.
You to do two-way
With
binding.
ng
model.
ng
You
model.
do something like that. It was like the worst idea that ever got created. Sorry if you invented it.
Because it's back and forth also.
Yeah. So we'll just say my form control, right?
Yeah.
So by doing this, we've instantiated, we've connected those two, right? Right? Oh, yeah. Oh, we're in the wrong place.
Good one.
Good, somebody's paying attention. That's pretty good. Yeah, so.
This was scripted actually. We wanted to see if you're paying attention.
Yes, it's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
It's a feature. Yeah, we're totally in the wrong component. So we copy this and go to the app component.ts.
Yeah.
And then we put this here and
we
then
have to
the import, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we take this here. Very good, very good. C'est très bien. Okay. So now we have liftoff, right? So let's talk about that initial state value. So what if I wanted my initial state to be my favorite person in the world, which is Katerina? I can say Katerina, right? And that will be like once the user, even if I refresh this, that will be the initial value, right? The initial value of that particular form. So now that we've done that, we're going to talk about, the next thing we're going to talk about is the states. But before we move on, are there any questions? Any questions? And I know for a lot of you, you already know this, but it's something we have to do because we have to almost carry everybody along. So it's like we meet you at your junction. You know, there are some people that have never used forms. We carry them along, and maybe, hey, I just want to know about form groups. We eventually get to your junction. We pick you up. Just make sure you're at the bus stop. You know, exactly. So please be with us. All right. So any questions about this so far? Any questions? Okay.
Good.
All right. So let's go back to that form control and actually have a look at these properties. So if you look at like the form control, you can see that, you know, status invalid valid that has been inherited, right, from the abstract control level. So these are actually not overridden, they're just inherited from the abstract control level and then implemented there. So the next thing we're going to talk about is state, like what the form actually allows you to do. So for example, there's something called a bunch of states called like pristine, right? Pristine has like the initial value, right, being changed. So if it's pristine, the initial value has not been changed, right? Right? While like dirty is the initial value has been changed. So as soon as you, even if like the initial value is Katerina and you add an extra A at the end of like the name of Katerina and you delete that, it's still now dirty because the initial value has been changed. Does that make sense? So that's what, so dirty and pristine are just like flip sides of each other, right?
Yeah.
And I asked a good question, like why not just pristine? But I can't remember who I asked this question. I was like, it's just readability. It makes sense. Because if you're after pristine stage, then you can just go pristine instead of just negating dirty. You'd need to know what dirty meant, but it just makes sense like that. It's sort of the reason why people sometimes have ng-if and ng-else, that kind of thing. Any questions about that? Okay. The next thing we have is touch and untouched. Does anybody know what touch and untouched means?
Or can imagine.
Yes?
Whether or not the user is interactive with that control.
Okay, yeah. That's actually pretty much, I would say 90% of the way. You got it. But there's another thing. For the state to be touched, right? There's the focus. The focus has to be, it takes account into the focus. So if you focus an input field, right? At that point, you've touched it, but the state touch hasn't actually changed until you lose focus, because your cursor can only be a one input field at one time. So technically, if you haven't lost focus, you actually haven't completed what it means to touch. And then so untouched is I haven't actually, you know, the blur and the focus thing, which gives you a head start. Like if you need to know when this person is this blurred or not, you can actually know that, okay, the blur. And why do you think that state is important? Can anybody imagine why? Validation, yes. Because if I want to show you like an error message.
Yeah, exactly what we talked in the first slide.
Yes. If I want to show you an error message, I need to know that you first interacted and then you've left. Then I can show you the error message. I don't want as soon as you interact, oh my God, you're doing something wrong. It's like, wait, give me a minute.
Let me make the mistake first.
Exactly.
Like
let me make my damn mistake first. Yes?
Why are there two? It seems like if touched is false, untouched would be true.
Yeah, it's what you said.
Yes, it's there. So it's the reason why they're pretty much just flip sides of each other, but it's about readability, because if you need like the scenario will be okay, we'd have touch and then you can negate touch, right? But then for readability, that doesn't really do well because you need to know first of all what touched is and then to negate that. But if you have just like touch and touch, it's like a luxury solution that exists. I don't know if that answers your question. Yes, okay, pretty good. All right, and so these are like the states that we have that exist on at least on a basic level. Pristine, dirty, touch, and untouched, right? So should we play around with them a little bit to see what's it called, right? Okay, so let's go and do something. Let's go here. Why don't we add like two spans, right? One for pristine and dirty. Should we start with that and see how they change, correct? Okay, so.
And maybe we'll understand better why there are 4 different ones instead of 2 to negate.
Yes, I like that. Is pristine, right? And let's maybe give it like a style, like a color
Yeah.
Oh, no. I'm going to give it to them this time. I always do this. I always spell it the right way. Color, and I'm going to use maybe like a, let's just put red. No, pristine.
Pristine, it should be like blue or green.
Okay, let's just use blue. And then for dirty, let's just use like red.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Sure.
is dirty, right? So let's preview that, right? It's pristine, it's dirty. It's weird because it says Katerina is pristine, is dirty, which is but yeah. So let's do the wrong, which is BR, we should probably be using that a line break. Actually, no, we'll be using it correctly to line break in the line, right? So like that, right? So we want when the form is pristine, the pristine shows up, and the form is dirty, dirty shows up. So how do we do that? How can we use the state of this form? Now, that's where we can actually use like let's use an ng-if.
Of course. And maybe we don't need the second BR, since only one of them is going to show up.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Yes. So if we do an ng-if.
I get an OCD with these things.
So here we can actually say my form control dot, and we can access that property. Which property are we looking for? Anybody?
Anyone?
Pristine.
Good.
Very good. So that means it will show only if the state pristine is true. And then we can just copy this part and do the same for dirty. And you can say if it's dirty, right?
Yeah.
Right? So what do you think will show? Can anybody guess? What do you think, which of these states will be true? Why? Why pristine? Because what? Yes, the value hasn't changed. It's all about, for pristine and dirty, it's all about value change, right? So let's look at that. So you can see it's pristine, even though it has an initial value, but that initial value hasn't changed. How,
Let's
so,
see.
yeah. So now we can change it. So even though I come back to the initial value, the same thing, that state is a one-off. It's gone now because I know for sure that the initial value has changed, right? Okay, so let's do something very similar to, what's it called? For touch and touch, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is touched, is untouched. Vouched. So here we have the same property. We can have touched, and we can have untouched. How do they spell untouched? Do they camel case? Okay, no, they don't camel case. Yeah, because it's one. So we can do that, right? And we can come here. So you can see that it's untouched, right? But even if I focus like this, can you see that the untouched state, and coming back to your earlier point, I've interacted with it, but the untouched state is still true until I lose focus, and then the touch state actually becomes true. That's why it's very important for the validation, because this is at this point, it will make sense, user experience-wise, for me to then tell the user, you haven't done something right with this field, correct? Make sense? Pretty simple. And I know we're starting off slow, trust me, you're gonna love what we've got for you, but it's very important we walk through, we carry everybody along, okay? So, the next thing we're gonna talk about is validators, right? Which is, there are different types of validators that we have to make sure that we're valid. Why that is good is you can set rules for the form, and then only when those rules are true, the form is valid. And that way you can tie it with your submit button, right? So we can do something like that. So let's have a look at validators. So the thing with validators is you can actually create custom validators, and we're going to see that. But more importantly, they're built-in validators around, I think, how many of them? Let's count them. Email, required.
Number?
Yeah, max length. Okay, we cannot count them.
No.
But there's a bunch of them, validators. You can say something is required, you can have an email validator that says it has to be an email. By the way, don't use the email validator, the default one, because it uses the email specification. So in the email specification, my name at email is valid. But in today's world, my name at email dot something is a valid email. But when email was originally created, something at something is valid. So don't use the built-in one because it captures a bigger case. Try to use more like a regular expression. So there's a pattern validator that matches to a regular expression. That's much better.
And create a custom one, I guess.
Oh yeah, or create a custom one that just hits the email. Okay? So let's quickly breeze through that, and we can say.
Can we see the list of the?
Yeah, let's see the list. Let's go to validators.
Yeah.
Yes. So we can see the validators actually. So we can have minimum, and I think that's when you want a specific number. You're working with a number value to be a minimum or max. Required. Required true. This is actually the first time I'm seeing required true. I haven't got a clue what it does, which is interesting. Then you have email. Which one's your favorite? That you use a lot.
I use required a lot.
Yeah.
And the pattern, like for the email you said.
Yes, I agree. Pattern is pretty. And the min length, max length as well, right? So it's very similar to the actual built-in HTML required stuff, like the validators in HTML. And with Angular, it actually recommended that you don't use the HTML validators. It actually tells you it's not going to break, but it's like you're using this required validator. It's better to just set it in the. It gives you this warning. So you can actually have this required, and the way you can do it with what's it called? Is by going custom.
Yeah, because we saw that in the constructor, the validators come after the initial value.
Yes. And I think we should probably have a look at it, right?
Yeah,
I think we could go backward here. So you can see here, it's, the constructor for the form control.
Yeah.
So
validator function.
the second one is validator options, which is a validation function or abstract control options, right? So you can have like a validator function or an array of them as well. So there's a bunch of different things you can pass, right? How do you like to do, when you have one validator, do you use just one validator or do you create an array with one in it? How do you prefer?
I think I go with the array.
Yeah, I always use array.
Just to make sure.
Yeah, me too. So, yeah, so I think it's best we teach them the array way.
Yeah.
So you can actually just come here and do validator, and you can get the validators.
Okay.
Is it validator or validators? I think it's validator, right? Yeah, validator. So you can actually come here and like use one validator, or you can say validator.
What's going
on? Oh, so validators. We got the wrong one. Bless you. Validators, and then you can do dot, and you can have access to all those validators, right? So these are the built-in validators. So you can come here and say, this is. Let's just try the basic one, which is required, right? And you can just say required. By doing this, you're saying basically, for this particular form field to be valid, somebody must give it a value. So when we launch, I'm going to ask a trivia question. Yeah. With the input Katerina, right, like this, if I refresh the page, is the form valid or not? Yes. Why is it valid? Because it's required, exactly. But if I have it like this, would it be valid? No, because there isn't any value, right? Exactly. So that's how the validators work. And you can cascade them. So you can have multiple validators here. You can say validators dot, let's say,
length.
Yeah, which you use maybe min length should be Katerina.
8.
So 8. So let's say if it was 9, would this be valid if we put Katerina? Why? Because it's still not 9 characters. So it cascades, the validation would fail. The form would be invalid as long as one of them fails, right? It's only valid when all of them are valid. All the validators have passed. And you can also check, there are functions that allow you to check, which specific validator has failed. So you can check like there's a form group like a validators, and then it will give you all the validators. You can see which one is true or false as well, right? Okay?
And this helps you create the error messages.
Yes. Because if you want to know if you have like 2 validators like this, right? Very important. I need to know which one has failed. right? So for example, for me, if I want to show you an error, the first validator I would check is has the user put something? Then that's my most important message, right? Then if not, I would then see, have they put something but they haven't reached 7 characters? What would really be crazy is, I haven't put anything but it's showing me, oh, you need to put 8 characters password. It's like, you know what? First, let me put a password first, right? And I think that's very useful for password. It's like, there's no point showing me put 8 characters if I haven't put anything. Like, tell me to put something first. That helps me feel your form better, if that makes sense.
It creates a better user experience.
Yes.
So if you have multiple validators, is it a good practice to show all that error messages at the same time instead of doing one by one?
From a user experience point of view, I would say no. I would show one by one. I normally arrange my validation messages. Yeah. Sometimes I create a component that does that, but I have an order, right? Let's use an example. If I have a password field that it has to be required, of course, but it has to be 8 characters, but it also needs to contain special characters like numbers, right? That's the order. If the person hasn't put anything, I'm not going to show them the rest too. I'm going to be like, you need to put me something first, right? Then that's one. And if they put like 7 characters instead of 8, then I show them, oh, you need 8 characters. That's the only error message they need to be concerned with at that point, because that's what I need to progressively fill that form. And then if they put 8 characters, but they don't have a number, then I show only the number one. So I wouldn't show all of them. I would have an order.
And annoying because sometimes when I go to any app on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
basically it's telling you 3 different sequences.
Yes.
Sometimes annoying for me, why not tell me at the first time so that I can come up with my own password instead of you telling me 4 different steps of, okay, oh, you need a special character, or there's a minimum length, right? So I can basically, I need to rethink again and again.
So the best way, carry on.
No, I would say that it depends on the case, but I think most times it's helpful for the user to solve one mistake at a time.
Yes.
That's what I would say.
The way I would actually answer that is, that's more of a responsibility of the person designing. So if you have you have rules that you want the user to submit to, like, those rules should be part of, like, just on top of the field, the label should say, by the way, create a password, but the password needs to meet these 3. So that way it's very clear what you're asking the user to do beforehand. And then if they fail it, I like something that some password and some people do where they have like 6 characters, contains a number, and like as you meet the requirement, like a check, a green. I like that experience pretty well because it shows, okay, I'm telling you exactly what I need, but also as you fill it, as you meet the requirement, I'm letting you know I got you. With reactive forms, you can know that. Great question. Any questions? Any questions?
Okay.
Okay, should we go for our first trivia of the day?
Yes.
All right, let's go for our first trivia of the day. So let me find that one. I think. Okay, no, it's not this one. It's not this one. It's this one. So let's show you the first trivia of the day, and this is where we're now gonna really. So the first review of the day is a Twitter box. I want you to actually build Twitter, right? And the main important thing is, you notice what's the tweet button? What is it here? Is it enabled or disabled? Say that again? It's actually disabled. So if you look that, now it's enabled, right? But I'm able to disable it because there's a disable property, right? What do you think I'm disabling it? Why is it disabled? Which validator do you think I'm using? So required, exactly, right? Perfect. So as long as it's not required, but also which other validators do you think I'll be using? Yes, max length, because Twitter has a 280 character long thing, right? So I can use the max length. Even though the max length wouldn't really, because I couldn't go ahead anyways, because of the HTML side, you can just do max length equals 280, right? But that way, so you can see how with the forms, I'm able to create these experiences, right? And then we also have a little trivia here where you can show us the count. Now, we haven't taught you how to show what is, and we're going to quickly talk about that, because it's part of the challenge. There's a property called value changes on every form control. It's an observable that emits every time a value changes, so it gives you the value. So that value would be a string, and then you can get the length of that string to say how many characters has the user put long, and then just do a little bit of math to do that. So this is the first challenge. We want you to build a simple Twitter box. You don't have to have styles, but just as long as the tweet button is validated, and the extra challenge is just the counter on the side, and it's not too difficult, and then we walk around and help. How's that good, right? Pretty good?
Good.
Okay, all right, let's go. Okay, Kat, we ready?
Yeah.
Do we? Okay.
You want to team up with somebody?
All right.
Are you sure?
Sure.
But it will help you understand more.
So,
Okay, but if you want, you can team up together, okay?
I guess
If
this
you
is
want.
where we would probably first open up the floor. So if you actually want to share your screen with us to show us your solution, or if you have a problem as well, we can put it up on the screen. So first of all, who here would like to show on the screen what they've done so that they can share good knowledge with everybody else? Anybody? Right, okay. So the link is, I have a room here at appear.in/Sani Yusuf, and you should be able to go to that link quickly. And it has a quick screen share thing. So appear.in/my name, SANIYUSUF. I try to create like an ng-conf room, but they want me to pay for it. So yeah. Could be a lot of houses with that money in Africa. So didn't feel like it.
In Greece as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like the guy in Black Panther with when he brings the hammer to in the beginning. It's like, is this? He's like, yeah, I thought about a fancy casing, but nah, save the money. All right. Are you there? Okay.
Need
Right.
help?
Yeah. So it should make you appear.in/SANIYUSUF.
It's cold.
Yeah, I got my jacket on. Appear.in.
Sorry?
Okay. Where? Are you there? Okay, so you should knock and I'll let you in. Yeah, just don't worry. It's okay. I already know where you live. All right, okay, so let's let him in. All right, then you should click the share screen and it should download the Chrome extension quickly. It should take like 2 seconds. And then you should be able to share your screen with us, and let's make you visible to the world. Now's a good time to clear your browser history. There we go. So if you could increase the size of the box.
Drag it to the left.
Yeah. Probably for the IDE, so that we can see the code. All right.
Yeah, to the right.
A little bit.
Oops,
Ooh.
sorry.
Oh yeah, you want to close the mic. So can anybody see? Oh, bigger. Bigger. A little bit bigger. Probably maybe 3 points bigger. I think you can do Command plus. Oh, Windows. Sorry. Okay. Yes. That's. There. Yeah. I think we're good here, right? Okay. So let's see what you've done. Okay, pretty cool stuff. So you can spend the next minute talk to us about what you've done.
Is there a way to turn this off? Yeah, no, it's not. It doesn't turn off.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't want to remove the batteries this time. I want to just switch it off for like a minute. It's very annoying. Unplug it.
Yeah. You killed the mic? He killed the mic.
Check. Looks like I have an explosive voice. So
Yeah.
does it still work? Okay, good. So I've employed some Bootstrap here. We've got Bootstrap. form group, so we've got the label at the top,
Right
and
track
then
here.
text area with the form control class.
I think there's two guys
Yeah, assign
behind
the form
the
control
sign.
name, and then I've got an ng class there for the isInvalid class, which will kind of employs the red outline there. I think that was something I was working on originally, so I probably actually removed that just for, in this instance, if I wanted to roll this out, just do the button. Yeah, at the sort of below there, we've got the button and the span, which is the badge. Those are all floating to the right.
That's okay.
Whoa. And then I've got my disabled attribute tied to the invalid property on my form control, so that will show if it's invalid. And then, yeah, at the bottom I've got a clear fix to sort of get rid of the floating for the next items, which sort of just display the properties.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. So I'm guessing the character count moving wasn't implemented. The challenge.
Yeah. Sorry, yes, I'd have to add the 280 to the app component TypeScript part.
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, that one is just a challenge, but this is pretty much it. For the most part, that's what everybody has. But yeah, what's your name again?
Joseph?
Joseph. Great work, Joseph. Like really, and I think a lot, pretty much, for the majority of the class, you would have something pretty similar if you've completed. Before we show our solution, did anybody do the challenge? The counter? Okay, is that implemented? Would you like to show us? Say that again?
Doesn't matter.
Oh no,
It doesn't
nothing.
matter.
Nope, doesn't matter. Yeah.
Come on, sure.
So yeah, I'm gonna kick Joseph out of the room now.
As you share, is there somebody who controls the microphones and the sound who knows how can I turn off my microphone?
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
So just appear.in/Sani Yusuf. By the way, this format, do we like it? Like, do we like the format? The fact that people can share and actually we can see what other people are doing? Because it's like, I think it humanizes everybody to show that, we're not Jedis or anything, like literally we're doing the same thing you are doing as well,
Yeah, the appear in is not coming up for her.
Appear in the username, Sani Yusuf, SANIYUSUF.
Going to check. Should I go and check?
I think,
Yeah, it looks like she has it right.
okay, should we go? Oh, yeah, why not? Yeah, I'm sorry. Got a very long name. Where's the appear? Let's see.
Strange.
Appear.
That's right.
Seems to be working.
Is this Chrome or Safari?
Chrome.
Oh, should be. Okay.
Strange.
All right.
It's okay. I mean,
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and show the solution. The internet has not really helped us, so that we can move on to the next stage. But yeah. So quickly, we will show our solution. Oh, is that you? Okay. Is that you? Oh, is it you? Do you have the control working? The counter? Okay, well, do you want to show us? Click the share screen, and then we can see. Yep. There we go. Yep, so you can show us your, yep. You can increase the font size, and yeah. Let's see. Oh, that's pretty good, actually, yeah. Wow, that's pretty good. That's way less lines of code than mine. Really. I'm just looking like, it's actually that simple. Yeah, literally, yeah, you can see, so he's using the value property and getting the length of that value property and just doing this complete math. So as that value property length is changing, it's just also just reacting. Does that make sense, everybody? Yes, any questions? No. No, it's because for the control to check the thing, you wouldn't need the max length because you already know the 280. You wouldn't be getting the max length value. You would probably have a property that you'd be sharing like that. So, pretty good. Any questions before we proceed? Good stuff? Did we enjoy that? Was that a good exercise? All right, it gets harder, don't worry. It gets harder. All right, let's move on to the next stuff, which is, now we're gonna actually show you how to work with form groups and then we'll show you how to, so the next one we'll show you is form groups. So let's look at the time. So we've got around 30 minutes to play around with. Yeah, let's quickly. So we're gonna go back to our little guy here. Remember this guy here, right? Everybody remember this guy, right? So now let's say we have like a form group. When do we need actually to use a form group? A form group is very useful when we have like a bunch of, cascading elements. So let's say we want you to, we've decided that actually, what we want to do is we want to create a form where you can actually enter different, like, let's say email and 2 passwords, correct? That's probably a good one. So we can start by just saying form here. And inside that form, we just close it down. So we can remove everything here. So we've done so far. And in that form, we can just do this here. By the way, is it visible enough to everybody? Or bigger?
Oh, let's make it a bit larger.
That good? Okay. All right. So let's say input for email. Type equals email. Right? And then we have another input here. And type equals password. So we want to email password. And let's probably use placeholder. Enter password. This is probably the least accessible form, so please do not try this at home. Use labels, use IDs, use ARIA labels as well. Don't forget your ARIA labels. They're just like your vegetables. They're good for you, even though you don't like to put them. They're good for you. And then I can just copy paste this and then just say confirm, right? We can do something like that, and we can go see the world's most beautiful form, right? Exactly. So here you put in an email address, here you put a password, and here put a confirm password, right? Now, the craziest thing would be to create 3 individual input controls, because that would not be very wise of us, because then we'll be maintaining 3 things. So that's where the form group actually comes in very handy. So with a form group, we would just go back here, and we'll just create my form group, and form group. And we just go here, and we should be able to have it group. And let's actually use the form builder. So here we can actually just go and do my form group equals new form group, instantiated the imperative way. But there's something called a form builder that allows you to declaratively build this. And that's one of the things we're going to see now. So let's go and say, okay, this dot, that's the name of your company.
Yeah, exactly.
This dot. Now I get it. Genius. That's genius. That makes me sound really, really stupid because I didn't get it earlier. All right. This is my form group equals. So we use a form builder because the form builder is like a little service, so we can just say form builder and then form builder. So we inject it with dependency injection, and we can say form builder dot. So you can see the 3. It has an array function if you need to declaratively create an array. You also have the control one if you use the control, but probably it doesn't make sense. The footprint, it just doesn't make sense. So we'd call the group. And what does it take? It takes in an object as a parameter, right? Where we can create key value pairs. So what do you think would be the first thing we'd want to name our first input field? What's a good name for that first input field? Email? Exactly. So we're just going to say email, and then we have the same thing. So initial value, validators, and all of that. So initial value here. What do you think we'd want to validate here as the validator? Say that again? We'll probably want it to be required, right? Yeah, we wanted you to enter that, right? I know I said don't use the email validator, which you did, but we're gonna use it because we don't have time to go to like Stackblitz, but probably in your own, you can use like Stackblitz, use a validator.pattern and do a pattern match, right? So I'm just gonna say validators.email. No, because you're using the form builder. So that the new form control is the imperative way. You could use that, but then you end up like ng-conf control. You have a lot about the form builder allows you to just create like an object, and it would do all of that behind the scene for you, which makes it a little bit cleaner. So the other one would be password, and I think password we can say validators. What validator should we use? Required, right?
Yeah. Again, required.
Okay. And what do you think we should use after? Min length? Maybe 8, right? Yeah, let's keep it simple. 24. Okay, min length. Min length is, we put 8.
Min length.
Oh, sorry, not min length. Yeah, there we go, 8. So I'm just going to copy this and do that, and maybe we'll call this one confirm underscore password, right? That's probably a good name. Confirm password, right? And it's the same thing, correct? All good so far, everybody following? Right? And now we have, so we can actually have like a, what's it called? So how do we wire this up? If we go to here, at the form level, there's a group, the same way we had form control, we have another property called form group. And then we can do form group equals my form group. Then how do we individually cascade? This is actually one place where I have some arguments with, what's it called? Because Elias has just created something new. And he was like, it would be nice if in future versions of Angular, it just uses your name property. So it forces you to actually provide a name property, which is pretty good for validation, and there's feeds of that name property. Although I can see why they did it that way, they force you to declaratively put it because they want you to be very sure like it's one-to-one. So here you'd have like a thing called form control name, like that, and then you just associate that. So you can say email, so you associate that, right?
Yep.
And then we can do the same for password. And then we can do the thing for confirm password. It's confirm underscore.
Doesn't it need to be in the box?
No. In the context, yeah.
Ah, yeah, it's in the context.
Yeah. Confirm underscore password. Right? So, makes sense so far? Makes sense? So, what you've done is you've now associated that. So, if you have like a submit button here, a button, which is like submit, and also there's another thing, ng-submit you can use, which is basically it hooks into the submit button, so you can have the button in the context of the form, and then once you do that ng-submit, I don't know where I stand in terms of should people always use ng-submit. I don't know. Katerina, what do you think?
I think it depends on the context, but I think that if you're using the reactive forms, I don't think it's so mandatory.
I agree. It's not mandatory, but just to know there's a function of an event you can hook into, which is ng-submit, and then provide a function so that when the submit button gets fired in the context of the form, it mimics the old post get form mechanism. So here we can, for the form action, exactly. Thank you. So here we can do the disabled and equals my form group. Micro form group dot invalid. But also you can actually access individual elements. You can say my form group dot, you can say dot get, and then you can pass a name of a particular child to get the control of that child. So if you have like a bunch of validation messages here that are specific to email, you do my form group dot get dot email, right? And then that's what you use to check for those validations, if that makes sense, right? But yeah, we can do something like that. But anyways, let's just quickly have a look. And you can see the submit button. So for us to actually make this valid, we can just do Sani at Sani.com, and then we can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And now it's actually valid because we've fulfilled the requirements of the form. So you can see we don't really need to know have they entered the email or password. We're just telling the form, hey, Mr. Form, all your children, are they valid? And he says, yes, the rules you set have been obeyed, so I shall let them pass. That way you don't need to watch individual, hey, email, are you valid? Nah, the form just tells you, I'm going to calculate that for you, right? Any questions before we proceed to the challenge? Yes, sir?
And this one, you use the core builder.
Yes.
You don't really want to use the builder versus just creating a group.
It's just about clean, so it's about preference and clean code, really. If we were going to do this the imperative way, we would have to do something like, you know, this dot my form group equals to, you know, new form group, you know, and then I think we need to pass like an empty value, like an object as well, right? Here, and they would now say this, there's a function called this.myFormGroup dot I think register control or add control. Then you need to add, and inside there you now need to create an instance of form control. So you can see how it just 3 controls, you need like, you know, 79 lines of code. But with this way, you could just declaratively pass. Also this way, if you're getting something from like a JSON from the server, it's much easier. You can just pass that object. So you can have like server-side code that would just populate that for you, if that makes sense. So it's not better or worse, it's just a thing of preference, really. Yeah. Any questions before we proceed? Okay. So I guess because let's see how much. Okay, so we might as well because this particular one is 2 stages, so we might as well bunch the. Who can see what's potentially wrong with our form here? Yes. There, that's the guy that wins the Tesla. Exactly. So if you notice, because we said for a password to be valid, it needs to just be required in 8 characters. The same for the confirm password, which means if I type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in password and 8, 4, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in confirm password, this form will still be valid because it's not checking. So let's see that in action. So if I type, you know, like here. Sani at Sani.com, you know, 1, 2. In fact, you know, I can just do brrr, you know, and I'll just do brrr. It's valid, which is crazy because as long as this form is concerned, I've given 8 characters and I've also, you know, it's required. But there's no way for us to check that the 2 of them. So now that validator, there's no way we can do that, right? And this is a problem. So that's where we have validators on the form level. So you can validate on the form level, not just on the individual control level. And that's why we need to create what I call a custom validator, right? So let's see how we create a custom validator, right? So for us, so if you look at this form builder, the first thing here is an object, right? But we can actually have comma, and we have another object where we can pass validator, and we can actually provide an array of validators for this particular form to be valid. So we can use the same validator for the form. So how would we do that? But we need a custom validator. So how do we create custom validators? Okay, let me actually go back to one of my code and copy that quickly. So I actually have created it to save us time. So the good thing with the custom validators, they literally just functions. I think that's one thing I really, really, really like. They're literally just functions, and we can just create that functions in the context of the class here, or even the context of outside the class, really. Just a function. It's just a function you pass, right? That's what the validator is. So I'm going to use validator error. So here, all I have done is I've said, so for here it will be like confirm underscore password. Right? So now let's see how we actually associate this particular validator. Here we put it in this array, password match. So the name of the function, what you do, because in JavaScript, functions are first-class citizens. So you're just throwing, you're not invoking the function. You're just saying, when you need to, even though you validated all those individual things, here is a group-level validator that you need to run, right? But also this validator, you can not only create validators for the group level, but you can also create them for the control level. So if you can create it's just a function that, and if it was for the control level, this would be, it would take in an input as a form control or whatever you want to associate it with. So at runtime, that would get injected and this function would run. And the function needs to return either true when it's wrong or undefined when everything is okay. And that's a bit weird. Like, why would you return true when something is wrong? It's like, if I want to know something is invalid, that invalidity needs to be true. So if I want to know if the confirm password validator should be true only when confirm password is not okay, right? If the two passwords haven't matched, and that's the thing. So that's what we're doing here. We're saying, I'm going to associate this password match function with a form group. Now take that form group, find a property called password, find another property called confirm password, check if their values are the same. If the values are the same, right, everything's okay. So you can return null or undefined, right? Else, if the values are not okay, then you return password match true. So this would be the name of the error. This password match would be the name of the error that the user can check. Is password match, error, is it true? Then that would be yes, password match error is true because something has happened. So it does take a while for you to get around that. Like, why is it true? But it makes perfect sense. Because if password match was false, then you're saying everything is okay. It doesn't make sense that way. And this is how we associate those two. And now if we check that, and we say Sani and Sani.com, and we put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, hold on. I need to know what I'm typing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6. 5, 6. Oh, 8. 8. So you can see I've put in here 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. But you can see the submit button is not, because it's both valid as long as we're concerned here, right? On email is valid on line 16 because it's been fulfilled, right? Password is also valid at this point, right? Confirm password is also valid. But then the form level is saying you then need to check this particular validator, but that validator will fail. So they're all good, but the validator is now going to fail. So that way you can control that. You can even go as far as making that function programmable, where it receives inputs of the name of the controls so that you can reuse it. I don't go as far as that. I try to make my custom validators one-to-one match with the form I'm using it. Because when you try to create you end up with like what I call a God function, where, oh yeah, it validates here and here. Nah, make it very one-to-one, right? Does this make sense? Right? Pretty cool stuff? Okay, so...
Let's try the challenge.
Yeah, shoot. Yes?
If you scroll down,
yes?
why didn't we just use the same password match true and false instead of returning null?
Say that again?
What do you mean?
So you're using this password match property, right?
Uh-huh.
Check it in the validator. You can just, if they are matches, in the return null, you can just say password match false, right? Why are we returning null in the if state?
That's part of the spec. The spec says you return undefined or null when everything is okay. That means nothing is happening. But when you return true, then that means you want to capture the user's extension. You want to let this form know something is wrong. That's true. And that's why you always want to have only one true statement being returned, right? In fact, I think part of the, you don't actually necessarily need the null because it's undefined by nature if it checks.
Yeah.
I think the spec, I like to just be I think the reason why I do it sometimes for junior developers that have just joined, it's better sometimes for readability that they see something is returned because they wouldn't know that this is what the spec says. But if you're in a team where you know what you're like, everybody knows Angular properly, you just need to return the true case and forget about the undefined case because that's already the case, right? Yes. So, questions?
Yes.
Yes. So you got the property password match true. Is there any way to actually access that on like HTML?
Yes.
Say, hey, the passwords don't match.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's something called, in the form control, there's a property called .errors, right? If you look at that, let's actually look at that on the
look at that.
form group level. So I think we have the form group open here. No, we don't. Form group. Okay, form group. Form group, let's go to the form group. So if you look at that, there's something called that, is it errors? Here we go. So you can see .errors is an array of all the current errors that have failed, right? And then you can access, what you can do is you can even, it's a function actually, you can pass in as a parameter a name of that particular error. So the name of that error in this case would be this, password match. So you pass a string called password match, and that will return you true if password match, now that true makes sense. If password match has failed, then that will be returned, and then you can react that way. Does that make sense from the HTML? Yes? Any final questions, because we're quickly running out of time before we move on to the challenge? Good stuff? Okay, so this is the challenge that we have for you. It's pretty quick. We have one more thing today, but we're probably going to need to run that quickly. So the challenge we have for you today is this, where this is what it looks like. It's pretty much what we've just done, really. I want you to go ahead and actually implement that. Like just, email address, password, and confirm password, and use that custom validator.
And try to display an error, maybe.
Yes, try to display some sort of error message. Like, for example, if the two passwords don't match, have an error message that means you need to access that errors property and then do that. That's the extra challenge. Pretty good? So we only have like around 5 minutes for that so that we can round up and do the async custom. Yes, sir?
Error from just a normal validator.
All good? Yeah. Yes, sir? Mm-hmm.
I define the function locally, just to see if you could pass that
Where locally?
in my component.
Well, yeah, you should be able to just pass it, but you'd have to do this dot.
Like that?
Uh-huh. So what is
I
happening?
don't know what the...
Highlight here. Wait, hold on. Well, no. Validators colon. It's key value pair. No. Outside this.
Oh, here. Oh, you're passing the array of validators in the form.
Yeah, validators colon. Yeah.
All right.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah. No problem. Yes, sir. Yes.
The return to the function was this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing to confirm.
What's that?
If I do try to type something else.
Let's see. Go back. So the problem you're having is password control dot value equals password return null else return true, right? And validators. This is, I think, uppercase V. I believe it's uppercase V.
Okay.
Yeah. You're gonna try it now. Mm-hmm. Wait, hold on. Go back. Validate. Have you saved everything? Make sure you have saved on.
Yeah, it's auto-refreshing on itself.
And it's probably a lowercase v then. Validators. Yeah, wait. There's something amiss. Let me have a quick look at the code. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Still here, it doesn't work because it's disabled. I just read my.
No, it has to be my form group is not a boolean, so my form group dot invalid has an invalid property. Yes.
Invalid.
Yeah, that's when you want it disabled. Yes. When is the next talk in here? Do you have the schedule? 5 minutes. So does the next talk immediately after? Ah, oh, okay, thanks. Okay. So how are we doing, guys? People? Okay.
Inside the custom validator, how do I like target separate fields?
Like field-specific custom validator?
Yes. So like if I wanted to, I'm in the custom validator. Can I target these two specifically, or is it?
Yeah, you can target those two. Because it gives you access to the form group. So the form group is this form group that will be injected. So you just call .get and then pass in the name. Exactly. You can also customize it to actually get that value as a parameter, but that's a bit overkill sometimes. Yeah.
How do you return the true from here? Because will you create a new variable as a password match, or because it has to be returned as a
It's an object of key of the name, and then value is true. So you're returning an object. Yeah, an object where the key. No, object. Return an object where the key is passed, then the error message, and then the value is true.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're gonna see the solution now. We're gonna rush up because we still have one more thing to show, which we wouldn't be able to have a challenge. And I actually specifically, build that like for this particular crowd. But hey, it is what it is. So let's show the results quickly. Okay. So this is what the result looks like. Well, I think we've probably already seen because we built the results. Yeah.
We went through it.
But let's just see what the original looks like. We're going to close this guy, and we're going to close this guy. We're going to come here in our demo. But, by the way, again, Katerina is going to be tweeting these links, so, they'll be all available. The stack links will be available for you to actually go. You can fork it. You can play around with it, right? So watch out.
Follow Sani and I on Twitter, and
yeah, absolutely.
you'll get these.
So let's see, where is it? Okay, we're just gonna show it. So it's pretty much what we've done, validators, and we've just shown a custom validator, and you can have as many as possible, right? And so this is probably gonna be available. So the last one we want to do is the async validator. What's an async validator? Sometimes you wanna validate, but you need to make some asynchronous call. When do you think that will be useful? Anybody? Say that again? Username check-in. What about shopping, right? You want to shop. You want to check if the user lives in a location-centric stuff, right? Availability, a lot of things. So that means the form has to then wait to calculate its validity. And Angular knows that because Angular's state is not just valid or invalid. There's also a state called pending, which means it's in the middle. I am waiting for something to complete for me to calculate my state. That way you can be aware. So let's see what a custom validator is. The demo we've built is specific to actually the USA. And I think I demoed this last year actually at my talk, but it's very similar. We want to check based on your postcode, right, if we deliver to you. So for example, we have this particular thing here where what we do is we want you to put in your zip code. I keep saying postcode. Zip code, right? We want you to put your zip code, and then we can check. So the way I've written this code is to check, I only deliver to California. So if you don't live in California, you're not gonna see that. But how do we know that? So actually, there's this website called Zippopotamus. Does anybody know Zippopotamus? It's zippopotam.us. And it actually has a bunch of countries that it has access to the postcode or zip code system. And the United States is one. So when you actually so let's just see United States and see a sample. Where is USA? Yeah. So you can actually see this sample here. And this is the sample JSON that gets returned. It gives you the postcode, it gives you the country, it gives you the country abbreviation, the places, the state abbreviation, the latitude, the longitude, everything. Right? And this is real data that exists. So imagine if we're building like an Amazon, right? $1 billion company, and we need to know your postcode so that we can save you time of filling this form, right? And that's what we've been able to do here. So let's actually go on and have a look at this particular piece of code. Here it is. So you can see it's a custom validator, but custom ASIC validators, they normally have dependencies. So you need to make those dependencies, you need to inject them. For in this case, we need the HTTP client because we need to know that we're going to make a HTTP call. So we're providing it ahead of time. We're injecting it to the custom validator. And this is what that function looks like. We provide the HTTP client, and then we return the normal custom validation function, which is going to be, of course, in this case, you can see we are associated with a form control. So here we're making it very clear that it's a form control that's going to be used with this. And what we're saying is we're getting that form control value. This is the control here. The value of that control, right, as the API call. So we're saying zippopotamus, the US / whatever the user gives me, right? And then we're using RxJS operators to get the state. I'm trying to check if the state is California. If it's California, then we just return, null, because everything is okay. If not, then we catch the error, and then we return like the error name, state delivery, and all of that. So it's the same thing. If everything is okay, return undefined or null. If not, return an object that is wrapped either as a promise or an observable. So Angular helps you that. So you can return a promise that resolves with an object of an error, right? Or a promise or an observable, or just an object as well, just like the normal thing. If not, just return a promise of undefined to show that everything is okay or good, right? So let's see how that works. Did you want to add something?
No.
Okay. So who can tell, who lives in California here? Oh, a lot of rich people, okay? So
give us a zip code.
Can you tell us where you live? We promise we will not stalk you. San Diego? And like a zip code.
Yeah.
92108. So we do deliver to you. Does anybody live anywhere that is in California? Yes? 01752. So
sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we don't. But this error is really reacting based on a real asynchronous call, right? And we can see the HTML here. We're showing you that error based on that has error. So that's another property you can use that has error. Does it have that particular error called state delivery? If so, yes. If not, just show the normal stuff, right? Again, I know we're running out of time, so we have just like 2 minutes, and we're probably not going to have time for questions, but you can catch Katerina and myself outside. Now, it's been 2 hours, and we hope that we've been able to give you something. There's so much about reactive forms we haven't talked about. It's a huge, huge, huge thing. I'll be doing you injustice if I said in 2 hours we could get past everything. That's a lie. But by doing the 2 hours we've given you, we hope we've been able to at least show you some possibilities, and then you can go on and build the really great features. You need to follow Katerina's Twitter, because she will be tweeting the links, the Stacklets links, and the slides as well. I'll have them tweeted on my account as well, but most of the demos are going to be tweeted on her account. So you can please follow, and all those are available on Stacklets. I'm going to make them all open and everything. Once again, I think it's been a pleasure of ours,
yes,
and Katerina and I have enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you very much.